Yeah, man, this is the cutting edge on IRA FM. Roger Concrete Asphalt here holding the fort for Muta over there in Turkey.
Resolved this matter very skillfully for the British and for the Europeans. In his work on liberty, he argued that the African people are outside of humanity and therefore cannot be subject to the principles and the values of democracy. They are outsiders to the concept. Locke was able, therefore, through that mechanism to resolve the contradiction that appeared in Western philosophical thought. It enabled Locke then to become a slave owner. He was a major investor of slavery in the Bahamas. He owned plantation stock in the Bahamas. He was also the corporate secretary of England's largest slave trading corporation. And yet, while accumulating his wealth from slavery and slave trading, he wrote beautifully on the theory of liberty. All of this made perfect sense because he had resolved the contradiction to allow the West to go forward with slave owning as in the national interest, while at the same time formulating the theory of democracy and freedom. Then, in the 18th century, across the Western world, slavery was defined as in the national interest. Now, in every instance, all of those many voices that rose up against slavery in Britain, in France, in Germany, in this country, all of those intellectuals and poets and theologians and common folk who turned their minds and their values against slavery were defined as not acting as citizens in their own national interests. And they were brushed aside. All of those opposition voices, and there were many very skillful, passionate opposition voices in the 17th century, in the 18th century, standing against the proliferation of the system of labor and human degradation, those people were brushed aside and pushed aside as not serving the national interest. Remember when Wilberforce made his first great statement against slavery, the King of England, a slave owner and slave investor, called upon him as a member of Parliament and threatened him to be very, very careful that you, sir, as a member of the British Parliament, you are standing against the national interest. Wilberforce persisted. By the early 19th century, the conversation has shifted. Powerful voices now turn against slavery and slave trading as not in the national interest. And we see in the 1820s the rise of this liberal perspective that says slavery is a crime, slavery is a sin. No one who has Christian values can be a slave owner. And suddenly the tide turned against slavery, and the British Parliament finally overwhelmed by the argument that slavery is no longer in the national interest, thus emancipation. So we see the rise and fall of this concept, and we see it every day in our lives. All of this is linked directly to the contemporary discourse in this country of the Black Lives Matter movement. This is just the second phase of that movement.
Yes, so you're listening there to a public lecture by Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies. And that lecture took place at the Harvard University. It's Reparatory Justice for Global Black Enslavement, the greatest political movement of the 21st century. So all the while you hear us on the radio, and people say, boy, I love talk about this slavery thing, man, and this Africa thing, and this black thing, and, you know, we can move on now and move on now and move on now. But you see, that is the problem we have. Because if we don't rub the scene to get what we want as a people, then the same things will continue to happen over and over and over and over and over and over again. You see, this country, Jamaica, as was said in this speech, Jamaica was England's greatest asset for about 300 years. And we're going to hear some more from Sir Beckles shortly. They imported what? 1.4 million people into Jamaica. And when slavery was abolished, 300 and odd left. And we have seen over the years how the society has grown and continues to be, starting from being a racist society to now a classist society. And the whole thing of democracy. This thing of democracy was never meant for us. Even the founders of the word democracy and capitalism, them say it wasn't designed for black people. And it's true. Because, you see, democracy, anywhere you have democracy, is one of two things. Black people is at the bottom of the social ladder, or black people are very divided, as we are in Jamaica currently. So it's two things happen when democracy, of which the creators, they set it. So no matter how you hear about democracy, this and capitalism, that and whatever, two things is evident and will forever remain so until we get out of it. Black people remain at the bottom of the pile, or black people will be very divided as the current system that operates in Jamaica and many other of the black countries around the world. So we'll continue with more of Sir Beckles.
In the 17th and the 18th century, there was a Black Lives Matter movement. The slave owners of this country, of this hemisphere, all argued that black lives mattered. In fact, nothing mattered more than black life, because the economies were built upon black lives. The inventories of their estates, the productive structures of this country and all of the Caribbean countries, their accounts, their balance sheets all showed that outside of land, the most valuable asset on the books of every enterprise was black life. And therefore, black life mattered most. Remember that the slave laws of this hemisphere were written to protect black lives. Slave owners could be punished. Slave owners could be and were punished for taking black lives, because it was seen as a destruction of the most valuable asset of this hemisphere. The most valuable productive asset of this hemisphere was black life, and slave owners could be punished for taking black life. In the Caribbean colonies, you could be punished 15 pounds sterling for taking a black life, even though you were the owner of that black life. It was with emancipation. It was with emancipation across the hemisphere when the black life reduced in its economic significance to white enterprises, where black life no longer mattered as much financially, that there was this wanton taking of black life. The state and the law no longer protected black life. Those who took black life went unpunished. And therein lies the contradiction, that you could take black life 100 years earlier and pay a heavy price. And now you can take black life and don't pay that price. I am currently writing a manuscript on the strategies of taking black lives. I'm writing a book on the subject, Methods of Punishing Black Folks. And so far, I have identified over 1,800 ways to kill black people. The classical things that you know, the boiling in oil, the hanging, the lynching, the dismemberment, those were just the tip of the iceberg. I have an inventory of over 1,800 methods and means that were used to take black life in this country and in this hemisphere. It became a work of art to devise new ways, new and creative ways to punish and to kill black people. I wish to tell you two small stories before I go any further. In 2008, I was invited by my alma mater, the University of Hull, a university built around the legacy of the great William Wilberforce, humanitarian and justice advocate, to establish an institution for justice in his name. I was honored to do so, and I agreed. There would be a formal ceremony at the Prime Minister's residence at 10 Downing Street. And we would be hosted by Mrs. Blair, the First Lady of Britain. And I was asked to make a few comments after that formal dinner. It was agreed that the institution will be called the Wilberforce Institute for the Study of Slavery and Emancipation. The acronym being WISE. WISE is now a well-established institution in British academia. In my after-dinner speech, I thought how much better it would be for the future, for the younger generation of scholars, for younger generation of students, if such an important institution would not be called the Wilberforce Institution for the Study of Slavery, Emancipation, and Reparations, in which case the acronym would be WISER. I was asked politely if it was my intention to undermine British policy. But I made the reference in jest, but it was the most serious of references you can imagine. Then last year we had the most extraordinary visit to our University of the West Indies. I had just been appointed Vice-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies. As you know, we have 3 campuses: Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad. We have an open campus. We are a university of 65,000 students, the largest regional federal university in the West Indies. And we had the honor and the pleasure of hosting President Obama. It was the most extraordinary event. I had the honor of shaking his hand and welcoming him to our university. But in the midst of that welcome, I was so aware that our campus in Jamaica, built on a slave plantation, that our ancestors who had worked on that slave plantation for all of these centuries, our ancestors who had been buried on the campus. And recently we were involved in the building of a new medical faculty. And while the construction was going on, the foundation was being dug, up came these bones from the foundation where the medical faculty was going to emerge. We had no idea that we were excavating the slave cemetery of the plantation. We stopped production, did the needful things, the ceremonial things, and so on. And while my mind was engaged in all of that, I was welcoming our esteemed president. And in my spirit, I felt that there was a connection between all of this. I felt a sense that there was a connection between this history in the present, the fact that our ancestors' bones were being dug up as the president was coming to our campus. It was a most extraordinary sensation. And for that reason, that moment will always resonate with me, that visit of Mr. Obama, our ancestors' bones spoke to us, unearthed and spoke to us, and that there was a message for Mr. Obama. I will speak to that message later on. And so we recognize that I am now the Vice Chancellor of a university with 3 campuses, and each campus is built on a slave plantation. I came from Barbados, where I was the principal or the provost of a campus. And one of the last things I did before I gave up that position was to honor the memory of those enslaved Africans who had worked on that land before the campus was built. We have a monument on the campus called Quaw's Quest, in honor of a gentleman called Quaw. Quaw was just 3 years old when he was brought to Barbados as a slave, aboard a slave ship. His parents had been murdered in a slave raid on his village. The child was thrown onto the slave ship and brought to Barbados. Quaw is bought by a gentleman who too has a 3-year-old child. And he bought Quaw as a present, as a toy for his son. They grew together. Quaw's genius was recognized by his owners. They found that he had, as a child, a phenomenal intellect. Taught himself to read, to write. Mathematical capacities were extraordinary. They asked him to take responsibility for the accounts of the estate. Slavery comes, slavery ends. A church is built on the plantation. 2 weeks at emancipation, the Church of England is looking for a sexton for the new church. The sexton, as you know, is the person, the officer of the church, who takes responsibility for all of the events of the church. Marriages, baptisms, all the public events of a church are taken care of by the sexton. Quaw becomes the sexton, the first black sexton of the Church of England anywhere in the world. And in 1854, there's an outbreak of cholera, and he is lying on his deathbed. And he gives his testimony on his deathbed. He says, I came to this colony as a child of 3. Parents lost. I am now married, 4 children. My family is rebuilt. I am a teacher. I'm a preacher. I'm a professional man. My quest is over. And so we call this monument Quaw's Quest. The first teacher on the land where a university campus is now built. This is the history all of us have to deal with. How the past speaks to us in the present. Then there is the narrative of one of my predecessors, Sir Arthur Lewis, who I'm sure you all know, Nobel laureate in economics, the first vice chancellor of my university, professor of Princeton, Manchester University, everywhere, one of the finest intellectuals of the modern world. But in 1938, as a young graduate, 23-year-old graduate with a PhD in economics, London School, brilliant young man, he wrote a little book called Labor in the West Indies. And in this little book, he says, the economics surrounding the development of modernity are well known. We can all account for the rise of the Western world. We can all account for the emergence of global capitalism. We know the benefits that global capitalism have brought to humanity. But, he says, this matter of 200 years of unpaid slave labor is yet to be addressed. That was before he received his Nobel Prize, 1938. That is what he said. He goes on to argue that until this matter of 200 years of unpaid slave labor that built this modern world is addressed, democracy and the West will be on trial. And that we must find a way to address this matter if we consider ourselves as Democrats.
It's the Cutting Edge on IRA FM. Roger Asphalt here holding the fort for Muta. He'll be back next week. So we are playing a public lecture by the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Hilary Beckles. He did it at the Harvard University in Boston. As you know, Harvard University is one of the leading universities in the world and the United States and this side of the world. And he was giving a speech on reparatory justice for global black enslavement, the greatest political movement of the 21st century at Harvard University. He did that a couple of weeks ago, and we decided to play it tonight. We have the last part of this lecture, public discussion by Sir Beckles, and of course we'll open the lines after this, and hopefully we can have a discussion on this topic.
Now, let us historicize that for a moment. That there is a relationship between democracy and what Quor had experienced. The raid upon his village, the destruction of his parents, and his thrown onto a slave ship to labor in the Caribbean. That we now have on the one hand democracy, but we have a history of terrorism. The slave trade was nothing more than unleash terrorism upon the people of Africa. And this unleashing of terrorism upon the people of Africa went on for 400 years. But this terrorism and the democracy that we all are now a part of are connected by this middle passage. We have the records of all of those kings of Africa who stood in the way of the slave trade and slavery. And those who stood in the way of this crime, instructions were given from the British government in the records of the Royal African Company to assassinate those leaders who stood in the way of the slave trade. Understand this. The Western world was in need of cheap labor. Capitalism was in need of cheap labor. African labor was the source of energy that drove the Western enterprise. Fast forward 400 years. We are now having a conversation about alternative energy, renewable energy. The conversation in the 17th and 18th centuries about cheap labor is the same conversation as the conversation today about cheap oil. The language, the narrative, the paradigms are very similar. Cheap labor, cheap oil, energy. And so we had a land grab in Africa, a labor grab, now followed by an oil grab. The energy debate of today is the same debate as the slave trade debate of yesterday. And in much the same way that President Obama's 21st century alternative energy victory must be celebrated, it was nonetheless the second part of a conversation launched by Abraham Lincoln for an alternative source of energy to drive the American economy. In other words, slavery was not the energy source that was now required. We now need another source of energy. And so President Obama, President Lincoln, are linked at multiple levels, but they are critically linked in their search for an alternative form of energy to drive the economy of this country. Terrorism, alternative energy, and the contradictions of democracy, as I have said, have been resolved. And now all of us are asked to deal with this discourse around reparatory justice. But those who argue against reparatory justice, when you examine the assumptions of those arguments, whether legal, philosophical, social, moral, whatever the assumptions of the opposition to reparatory justice for African peoples, they converge around a simple point: that the African peoples of the Americas might have a moral and legal right to justice, but they are not deserving of reparatory justice. Unlike all the peoples of the world, these people are not deserving of reparatory justice. Reparatory justice, we all know, is about power. Who gets reparatory justice are those who are able to win the discourse of power. The weak, the disorganized, do not get reparatory justice, unless it comes at the end of a journey where that group is facing extinction. And when that group is facing human extinction, then the conversation might change around reparatory justice. We have seen this in the context of indigenous people on the verge of decimation being the subject of reparatory justice. The Caribbean has now thrown itself into the vanguard of this process. All of the governments of the Caribbean met in summit, examined the historical details of this case, and have agreed that the powers of Europe, the slave-owning nations of Europe, that they all have a case to answer. CARICOM, the Community of the Caribbean, has therefore broken ranks with Europe and America. The Caribbean governments have broken the gridlock. The Caribbean governments have determined that the future of democracy has no integrity without a discourse of reparatory justice. And why? Because this is the final stage in the evolution of our democracy. For 300 years, for 500 years, the indigenous peoples, the African peoples, fought to remove genocide and slavery from our culture of civilization. They fought against it. They were in the vanguard of all those democratic sensibilities we speak about: justice, equality, freedom. They fought. After 300 years, we were finally able to uproot slavery from our world, chattel slavery. What the enslaved of the Caribbean describe as the barbarity time. That's how the former slaves used to refer to slavery, as the barbarity time, the time when barbarity descended upon the world. Barbarity. Then it took another 150 years of struggle to get the right to vote, to walk the streets, to live in communities. After 300 years of fighting against slavery, another 150 years of fighting for the right to vote, for civil rights, social justice. Finally, we are in this stage now, final stage, where we are talking about reparatory justice for this history. This is where we are. This is not going to go away. This is not going to be brushed under the carpet. This is going to be the world's most powerful and evolving political movement in this 21st century. All over the world, where these crimes have been committed, citizens are going to be rising up and calling for justice. It is a turning point in our culture of the world. It's the beginning of a new dispensation. It is not about retribution and anger. It's about atonement. It's about the building of bridges across lines of moral justice. And I am in full agreement with the Pope, who said this is not a time to be building walls. This is a time to be building bridges. Because we all know what a bridge is. A bridge is just a wall turned the right way up. That's all it is. Or the right way down, as you might wish to imagine. And so we are into building bridges. Bridges across cultures, civilizations, bridges with an objective of world peace. The CARICOM governments have taken that bold step, and they have established a commission of inquiry to carry out the necessary work to formulate a strategy of reparatory justice to move these societies forward. They have approved what is now called the CARICOM 10-point plan, the 10 issues around reparatory justice. Issues about development, housing, healthcare, education. Issues about social justice, infrastructural development. Critically, what CARICOM has said is that this mythology perpetrated by those who are against justice, that reparatory justice is about black people standing around on street corners expecting charity from white folk. That is the myth that is used by those who campaign against reparatory justice. It's about black folks in a mendicant, subordinate way, looking for charity. Another level of charity. This is what they say. It is not about those issues. I am the chairman of the CARICOM Reparations Commission. I am not and will never be a part of that kind of discourse. I am concerned about the eradication of illiteracy, bad health, bad housing in the societies that have been ravished by slavery. I have said to the British Prime Minister and to the British government in their own parliament, you have left the Caribbean world in a royal mess. You have left the Caribbean world in a royal mess. Come back and help us to clean up that mess that you have created. That is what reparatory justice is about. I live in Jamaica. That is where the Vice Chancellor of the university resides. When Britain gave Jamaica its independence in 1962, 80% of the black folks in Jamaica were illiterate. And this is after 300 years of extracting wealth from Jamaica, the richest colony in their history. The colony that gave them the global push into Asia and everywhere else. Jamaica, the land where the Prime Minister's ancestors made their fortune. 80% of the people were left, and they were told to go and develop. I spent 6 years as a student in the Faculty of Economics. I have seen or heard of no economic model, no economic paradigm that will enable a society with 80% illiteracy to develop. The people of Jamaica, nonetheless, have done very well to convert that mess they have inherited from the British government into a sustainable nation state. And they must be congratulated. All of the Caribbean societies, inheriting this mess, went to work in an act of self-help to carve nations out of this mess. My island where I was born, Barbados, is very proud of its democratic culture. But this was the first slave society in the modern world. The first society in the Americas where African peoples outnumbered Europeans, Barbados. And now we celebrate Barbados as a center of democracy and freedom because the formerly enslaved people took it upon themselves to build that tradition, to turn slavery on its head and create societies based on freedom and justice. This is our achievement. This is the achievement of people who had been enslaved. to turn history around and point the world in the right direction. And so we are saying, and we are urging, and I can think of no other place to do this than here in Harvard Law, the home of our esteemed president, to join with CARICOM. Join with CARICOM. Establish a national commission in this great nation to examine the history and the legacy and the consequences of slavery with a view to building the foundations for another round of civil rights and human rights in this country. Urgent that he use his considerable global influence to help to shape this 21st century around reparatory justice. And when I had the honor of meeting with him at the University of the West Indies, I felt the ancestors were speaking to me to tell him this, to say to him, welcome to Jamaica, welcome to a slave plantation where we have built a university. We are proud of your achievements as a great leader, but your ancestors are asking you to do one final thing. They are crying out from the graves for reparatory justice. And let me say this. How many of you have seen President Obama singing Al Green at the Apollo Theater? On his visit to Jamaica, he said he grew up under the influence of the remarkable music of Bob Marley. Well, I'm going to sing a little Bob Marley for the president. Old pirates, yes, they rob I, took I on the merchant ships. Redemption song for the president, who we are asking to take this one final step for Bob Marley, for all of us who are committed to reparatory justice. We celebrate what he has done for the people of Cuba. We celebrate the opening he has given for the people of Cuba. Reparatory justice will mean, in this country, in the Caribbean, that no child will be able to say, I can't breathe. No child will say, I can't breathe in this civilization, in this land, in this country. Therefore, on the next occasion that I'm invited to this distinguished university, I hope it will be to participate in the open ceremony of the Obama Center for Reparatory Justice at Harvard University. All of us as academics, as scholars, must stand for justice. We give solidarity to students in this university and all universities around the world who are standing up and demanding that their university environments be ethical environments. I have just visited Oxford University just 2 weeks ago and had the great honor and privilege of addressing faculty and students at that university, now appointing its first vice-chancellor, who is female, after 700 years. But I was able to say to students and faculty there, yes, Oxford University has been a part of a certain imperial history that have celebrated and empowered white supremacy, racism, depredation of cultures. And I recommended to the Vice-Chancellor that the way around this, Oxford, the the University of the West Indies, the University of Johannesburg, where Rhodes is recognized. How about an Oxford, Johannesburg, University of the West Indies Center for Global Justice? Let us turn this history around. We cannot bury it because, as I have said, when we bury this history and we go to put up buildings such as medical faculties, we then dig up the bones. The bones are everywhere. They're everywhere. There's no point in burying the legacy and the memory as well as the bones. Let us bring everything to the surface and find a way forward through all of this. I thank you for the generosity of your attention. I thank you.
All right, a speech there by Professor Hilary Beckles at Harvard University, looking at reparatory justice for black enslavement. One hail Muta, Muta over there in Turkey, same tune in. Late, Tracy. Hours in the morning, Muta not asleep. Yeah, man. Hail up the great wonder, man. Hope you tune in. Yes, sir. We're not straight. We keep the message the same way, for the people out here in Radio Land listening to IRIE FM on the cutting edge. The message is about mental liberation for the African peoples. All right, this is the cutting edge on IRIE FM. Roger Concrete Asphalt here holding the fort for Muta over there in Turkey. 7:40 in the morning. So it looked like him never sleep last night. Same thing, yeah. And make sure same tune in. I hope you're enjoying the vibes over there, though. We know it's not an easy country, that, but we know you do your thing still, Muta. Yes. So we just heard there from Professor Hilary Beckles looking at reparatory justice for the global black enslavement, and you see, 102 years ago, Marcus Garvey, him traveled, the places around this Western Hemisphere. It was the same thing. Everywhere him go, black people were at the bottom of the pile, suffering. He asked the question, where is the black man empire? Where is the black man navies on the sea? Where is the black man Wall Street? Where is the black man satellites? And 102 years later, we still asking the same thing. Where are all of those? We come through one of the wickedest atrocities in the history of humanity. And we own people don't like we hear we talk about it, but we have to talk about it. Because if we don't talk about it, then it's very likely that the same occurrence will happen in some shape or form. As you heard in the lecture, the word democracy, when they were coining the word and the whole capitalism in the 17th century, it was designed to keep out black people. And it's the same thing we have been seeing over and over and over again. Anywhere where capitalism and democracy is, black people is divided or black people is at the bottom of the pile. People don't like here we talk about Africa, the cradle of civilization. Sir Hilary, what he's doing and what he did is the same thing what Walter Rodney usually do in the 60s here in Jamaica. He usually go out in the ghettos and try to enlighten the people because him just never feels lecturing in the university at the time. It wasn't working out. So he had to go out in the street and tell people about them history, how great they are and how great they can be. But the Jamaican government never liked him, and the Jamaican government declared him persona non grata, grounded him at the airport, and he couldn't come back in Jamaica again because of the same thing you just heard from Professor Hilary Beckles, the same thing Walter Rodney usually do. So we're glad for people like these who see the necessity to go out there and enlighten our people and try to bring back justice to a set of people who were wronged and continue to be wronged. And one of the things that we as a people, we hate ourselves, we don't like, the black and black killing is one of the wickedest things, because I saw it set. We were the creators of arts and sciences. They stole our arts and sciences from Africa. Check your history books. The richest man who ever lived in the history of the world, the richest man was a black man named Mansa Musa, who ruled the Mali Empire in the 12th and 13th century. Bill Gates, Buffett and the whole of them, Rockefellers and the whole of them, the wealth that this man had, quadruple whatever the wealth that these men have nowadays. So we have a rich history from which we can draw on to guide and to shape our future as a people. And reparations is critical for all those slave-owning countries to impart back on the mess that they left us, both economically, physically, mentally. Mentally is one of the worst things. We suffer from a serious state of mental slavery, even up to this day. A very, very serious state of mental slavery in Jamaica and in the Caribbean and in the black world in particular. Very few people see the light and try to fight, but the very few people who see the light and try to fight, them keep them down. Them don't want to hear, they don't want to see them talk. They don't want to see them try to uplift. As they start to talk about, see, we are talking about black thing and slavery and rape. We see it even on the football field, where racism continues to rear its ugly head in the sport. And a lot of people say, well, they might make them money and this and that and all sort of things. But that is beyond. When you have your own dignity to deal with, when you have your own rights to defend, don't come tell me about, boy, I make my money, you know. And that is one of the problems. A man might have him Rolex watch, in big house up on the hill, the prettiest and fastest car, and thinks that is all. No. We don't even start yet. We have to find a way. We have to. That's why we give thanks to a program like this, the Cutting Edge. It has gone on 20 years now. Remember, as a youth growing up and I listen to this program, and it is an honor for me to be on it now, to remind our people that we are a great people. We have to shape the society in which we want it to be. We have to do it. We have to try to get out. We have to try to get out of the nastiness. We have to do it. We have to grow in our children in a society which we want to be prosperous, which we want to be something in which they can grow in peace, love. Recently, we say a survey, we say 80% of the young people in Jamaica want to migrate. Now that is serious. When I go to some countries, and the youth have great hope for them country. Not so in Jamaica. Very few youths want to stay and build this country. And sometimes when you see it, you can't even to say nothing, because it's what them grow and say. And the whole political system, the whole divisiveness, the whole, the economic mess that we were left in. As you hear the man saying, when Jamaica received its independence in 1962, 80% of our population was illiterate. 80%. Check the records and check. But we have done well as a people. And hats off to the greatness of the Jamaican people. But one of the things that continues to keep us back is the whole divisive nature of our governance, our political system. And that is a thing where continue to keep us back. And that is one of the things that continue to not inspire our youths to want to stay here and build a society in which we want it to be. Still a great country, great people. We have, when you look at a country that can produce people like a Marcus Garvey, a Joel A. Rogers, a Usain Bolt, a Bob Marley, a Burning Spear, and we can't go on, and we can't go on, and we can't go on. There's something about this country. But the mess that was left back by the slave-owning countries on us continues to affect us to this day mentally, economically, physically. And that is why we always have to fight. We can't care when nobody wants to say, we're going to dip on the radio till thy kingdom come, until this thing set in order where we have reclaimed what we are about, our greatness as a people. We have reclaimed our status in the world affairs. If Europe is for the European, if China is for the Chinaman, if India is for the Indian, if England is for the Englishman, then Africa must be for the black man. If it's not physical, it must be mental. Africa. Yeah, man, this is the cutting edge on IRE FM. Roger Concrete Asphalt here holding the fort for Muta over there in Turkey. Yeah. So we're taking your calls, you know. Remember, you heard Professor Beckles a short while ago. Make we have a little discussion, no? And this and any other thing. Call us, man. 974-5051 and the usual numbers. Call us here on the cutting edge. Let us have a little discourse, a little discussion, anything you want to talk about, because, you know, this is IRE FM, the people station, number one. And the cutting edge continues to enlighten, continues to play its part in liberating the minds of our people. So, we're taking your calls now, as we say. So, 974-5051. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Bless.
Greetings.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yes, sir.
You see, what is the most important thing at this moment?
Yes.
At this time is the identity.
Mm-hmm.
Your identity is the existence of your spirituality. Your spirituality, divine you, that is anywhere you want to go, it must be in omnipresent right in front of you. So that's how powerful that identity is. Africa is depending on us to carry the universe that is life together within that self-thought and self-consciousness. We remember, so we're coming to a period of our ancestors coming to a period of slavery. The chains that's taken off their feet. The chains, but mentally, your mind trapped for not know the true consciousness to life.
Yeah, so you move the chains off of your feet and in your brain.
Yes, and brain, but you see, like with the brain trapped now, you can free it up. Mm-hmm. But always you need to be truthful to oneself and to your natural self. So that means, where you is at this moment, at this time, you are in a studio. But through you are in the studio, the light and the dark is omnipresent, that is right there. But it is a reflection of yourself, that is a shadow. That is the darkness. When the light focuses onto your body black the gaze of the light. Why you see the dark behind you? Because the dark is omnipresent, that is always there. That dark is the eternal blackness of black people identity to aware of themselves. Once you free that consciousness of your spirituality, then you black people can live in love, harmony, and realize the self-thought of self-consciousness. Remember, say now, where Muta is at this moment, him still have to see the light and the darkness. That is a reflection of himself, that is a shadow. It will be with him, because that is a spiritual identity to life. So if a man say, Haile Selassie present before coming to the existence, in that to see the light and the darkness, that is the omnipresent of the true present. So if a man say, Yahweh, Jehovah, Savior, the same source him talk to, but him call upon many different names to represent the source. But one source, must be an identity of itself. There's no escape. Tell me where you can go that you can leave your shadow. Because the shadow of the Almighty is always be there. So that's why you cannot leave it. So open your mind now to the self-thoughts, the self-consciousness, the self-movements, the self-awareness. No matter where you travel over the world, Africa depending on us to bring them back onto the subconsciousness of them blackness, them black awareness, them black consciousness, them black movement. Within this truth, only the truth can set you free. So once being, and even the food where you're eating right now, you have to adjust up on the food them to gain that consciousness in yourself. Because even the drink them when you drink now, it drift off the mind. There is so much thing to untrap the mind.
Yeah, man, so much trappings, so much trappings within you right now that we need to, try to sort out ourselves in terms of this whole movement to where we want to be as a people. You talk about Africa, you talk about spirituality. Yeah. So you're right, you're up on the right track, boss. But we'll give thanks to.
So just all the meditation I know so well, the present are the identity what you're seeking for. That is the black man kingdom. It's right in front of everyone eyesight, but or you acknowledge it, or you're aware of it, or you look into it. But truth is the truth that will set you free. You have to be in open-minded within oneself.
Open your eyes and look within.
Yes.
All right, sir.
So what I'm saying, you see the shadow where it's right there, that is the darkness. And the light, right within it, is that source of that energy. There's no energy, no power form, and if you can't escape your shadow, that is the shadow of the Almighty, that is the darkness. Then obviously you have to learn about it. Why it has always been following you.
Yeah, man.
Why it is omnipresent. So you have to go in yourself. So these are the reasons we need to come to so that people can get our identity, to be sure of themselves, to be loved. Bless up yourself.
Bless.
Yeah, man. Bless up yourself. Cool.
Blessed. What's up?
Yeah, man.
Talk to me.
Yes, sir, my boss.
Talk to me.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I reckon I try wholly the faith. Well, would I really motivate Jamaican on a level that we can see ourselves?
Yeah, we're not apologizing for that.
Yeah, because we then I sent an here and this is not a political issue. But we, as far as I'm concerned, based on Jamaica and with them matter, Jamaica matter now go solve none at all.
Why?
Because we now look straight.
How straight we must look?
We must look straight and see where we stand up for, where we need. We must look round the corner. Because here now, if Jamaica, this is not a Rasta issue. But the wise man, the majority take them as a fool. Like a Rasta from in the 1970s, 1980s, I tell you, say, health-wise, what we eat. Right? You have to look on a Rasta man and say, my featherweight. We suck out at the same time at today. And to the day, right now, we are trying to go health-wise where Rasta preached 30 years ago. You understand? You have the most united people in Jamaica are Rasta. Right? And at the moment, a man is going to look on a Rasta and downgrade him where him a wild up. Because a Rasta go look on you and tell us, I'm a Jamaican, I'm a African. We are not really Jamaican, we are African. Right? Anywhere you go and see a black man is going to be an African. Anywhere you go and see a Chinese, they are going to say that is a Chinese. All of them born in a Jamaica. Right? All of them born in a Jamaica. And he has a Chinese look.
The name of your race, the scientific name of your race.
Yeah, but when you try to show people all of these things, them are going to say you're forced.
Yeah,
differently.
Part of the way it's set, it's set for tear down ourselves and try not to understand ourselves and try to know ourselves, just how it's set, how we have to continuously fight and we have to continuously try and liberate the minds of our people, because we in our state, we left back in our state where we still have to fight for get out and get the respectability and the status we deserve and what we are all about,
Yeah, because even see example, Bob Marley sing a song say we have suffered mentally slavery, and it really happened even by the election around what year. This is not a PNP or a JLP, but you're putting people in there to get a better standard of living, right? And before you get in, before you get a better standard of living, so you have bad road are going, see? Yeah, bad road here. And this was the constituency for like 10 years or so. And then I fix the road. And when the election come out, them I go promise them I go fix the road. What happened to
regular thing?
Yeah. And at the same time, we not think straight. Because if you work at IRFM and you say you love your job, you not go give up your job for anything. At the same time, the big man, them a look and we, the poor man, and say them love poor people. Them a go love we all the while as the poor. Because them a look say we are going to look up to them at all times because the poor, they now put it on a higher level. And at each time a prime minister come and say, boy, we love poor people, we love poor people. They never say we love we soon not come out of poorness. They never hear them a come on that and say, so more time when we there and you look deep within things and you know what the reality is. You as a one man who are trying to change and you will stand up for your justice. Might be going up like Malcolm X and them man there and stuff, etc. Man, I go on like your back is against the whole world.
Yeah, man. All right. Give thanks, here.
Yeah, man. Let me tell you, let me pick up my brethren, Tim J. I know in them there, listen, pressure from Camperdown, you don't know, say, area all the time, you see me?
Yeah, man.
So, Tim J, anyway, you big up yourself.
All right, sir. Bless.
All right.
Why you love Jagger, you know? Jagger back into the place. And the whole Tex Lane crew, downtown, the whole of downtown and south and North Street and the whole of down south. South Camp Road, Franklin Town and Rallington Town and Dunkirk. Why you know the whole of the people I'm in tune to the cutting edge right now. Fletcher's Land and them place there, TG. Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, man, good evening, man.
Yeah, good night, yeah.
Yeah, man, there are one of the youth who come from Trinidad, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, the deportation, that not even so bad concerning when they turn your back. There are some system up that go on when they hold your that way. Wicked.
All right, where you go to?
Yo, let me tell you. First thing, when you overspend your time, right?
Oh, we are talking about Trinidad now, right?
At Trinidad, we are talking about that. So them say you must come in. You look on your paper for the 5 years and so. This when you go, them only and them lock you up. See? When them lock you up, a ground them put up on. You see me? You have a man who did the immigration and do some things where him don't tell you him don't like outside Jamaicans. Him tell you that. As you go there, him don't care where you want, so him just deport you. You see me? Yeah, when him deport you, what him do? Him say you can plead the case and you get a liar. The liar now will take 10,000 from you. For you to get an SI again, you have to stay 9 months to 6 months before them hear your case again, before you go before him. And then he might take $5,000 from the liar, and the liar takes $5,000. And then deport you. You see them, I tell you about them, I give you good food. No go so that. The food that them give you, daddy. Them give you one little, then give you a tea bag, then give you a little sugar with them give you on plane. And one little milk like that with them give you on plane for mix tea. The earring with them give you. Remember, you're not prisoner, you know, man. You understand? You with them give you. Some man get a youth go there, and them all the youth in her car and say the youth read. And the liar let the judge find him and let him go. When them try now to pay the money, the man them call it police, them call it immigration. And the immigration them all the youth are like first month him up there. Some get 6 months in a book. Them hold him and tell him month run out and lock him up. And when he reach 6 months, them say overstay and deport him. You understand? I saw them and deal with you. Them and man I'll call you a girl name, you have to answer that. The immigration, are you up there, daddy? You're the Minister of Security give your man a letter and tell him, say, go and tell him to give some time in the country, but he's a Jamaican, see? You hear me?
Yeah, man.
And when they give him the time, the immigration officer take the letter with the Minister of Security right to above them and say, oh, you lock up the youth and all the youth in the jail. See? And it's when you steal in with a phone, the youth take the picture and say what go on. And the man's wife go back and carry to the radio station and to the paper, and then let go the youth undercover, right? Without them calling the immigration name. So immigration are going with their things up the daddy.
All right, tell me something now. When you try to enter Trinidad, when?
Well, me enter there a long time. Yeah. So me I say. And then so we must come in and look over papers because we're there a long time.
So you get through when you look over your papers?
No, them all and just dip you.
So you never get to do what you want to do in Trinidad because they're all at the same time?
Yeah.
And how long you stay?
6 years.
6. So you're working in the country for 6 years?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm a youth and everything, and they say, well, you must come now for paper, do your paperwork, right? Fit you because you're there long now and you're right. Your time right.
So you was one of the recent people who tried. Man. When that?
Well, about a month ago now.
Oh.
Yeah, man. But I grown them put up asleep. You see me I talk about and the food daddy, the treatment daddy. Me I tell you, when Jamaican I go through there, they have a book when I write daddy. Come me get and them people phone come and they video some things. But me have a book when I write them what them do. You see. The man all deport a student. In December, they tell us to come back for time. You go back for time because they shuffle the new Prime Minister, right? New thing, and you go back for time. And you go again, and you go back for time, and you go again. Them tell us to come back. So when you go, they're looking at your book and say, oh, you overstay, and well, and deport you. Remember, them tell us to come back, you know.
So you have a youth down at Trinidad as we speak?
Yeah, man. We have some, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, them no business with that. There's no business with that. You understand? The man, the immigration man, does a deport and I tell us, no care. Him not like Jamaican. Him tell us straight. You see me?
So have you spoken to the foreign ministry out here? Who you get statement out here?
Well, that's what I'm doing. I gear up everybody and I try because I go all the radio station and I can't get through with nobody. And yesterday in the area from the whole day stand up, you know, and I security give me the number, you know. Right? Because I'm come here on and I try to go. You understand?
All right, let me ask you this. Have you made contact with the Jamaican foreign ministry?
No, because that's what I'm asking. You know, go. You understand?
Oh. Because you know they make a statement today.
Yeah, but them don't go talk. Them don't know what go on and I tell about food. Them don't know what go on and all that. Because you see the minister of the world representative, him neither go on with nothing in that. Him don't go chat to him and yam up him food and I eat some Jamaican money. Him not go on with nothing, you know. Him neither represent you, you know. You understand? Yeah, commissioner, you know.
So who they represent you? Nobody at all?
Nobody. They're not business with you neither. Them just eat up what they mean, so them fire them, have a fire him since the new minister here coming in Jamaica. Them not represent you. Them represent themselves. You understand? Me I tell you things are going that y'all have man who get time to come out. The man put all man there's not tourist bad man up there in a prison, you know. But if you go and bust up while they're head, you know. A container and in the earring, you have then give your earring. And you know, earring when they give 1 hour earring, you know, and you have to wash. You have to wash beard and play if you want in that hour, you know. A fire broke out up there one day. You know them to tell us if you come out and evacuate. You know what they do? They lock up back all the Jamaicans and everybody in it. You know, the cell, you know. A fire broke out, you know.
You serious?
I tell you, if the fire get big, I kill every man. Understand?
I want you to come back tomorrow, you know, because we're supposed to have some people tomorrow to talk to on the stepping razor. We're trying to make contact down there to get some more clarity as to what's going on, because we keep hearing these things, but then again, when we reach the diplomatic level, it kind of pretty it up. Dress it up away, like, you know, so.
There's something I talk about. Understand? You have to go link you back because, you see, Jamaican youth suffer that. You see me I talk about. And when they deport you, at them for right you buy your ticket, you know, which you don't know, you're not going to wait that long. But then I send back the bill to the Jamaica, what they call this? The Jamaican, they have a European nation, European something in Jamaica, yeah, they send the bill and say, them buy ticket for you. Not going to say no. See, here with the immigration man, all are youth. And the youth just ask them, My man no crime man, him overstay. Let me go for my clothes and my money. You hear my man say, at Jamaica, at Trinidad money, at Trinidad clothes, let the people them wear their clothes and spend their money. And send out the man same way, Them not carrying feet, You see?
Yo, call me back tomorrow. Call me back tomorrow in the afternoon.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, man.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, man. You're on.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, I've been listening to Sir Hilary Beckles.
Yes.
And even that little man who was speaking about light and darkness afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah, one of my concerns is indeed reparations for black people. Not from a Rastafari point of view, because I'm not a Rastafari.
Mm-hmm.
I am a Christian, born and grown, and accept the faith myself. But I'm not one who is just heavenly minded with no earthly use. I believe that we need to, we have to be all things unto all men.
Yes.
And I like to look into the scriptures to see what God's purpose is for all of us, all nations, all peoples, all individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And what I notice in the scriptures is that God's own, the chosen people, they were enslaved like we black people. And their journey is similar to ours.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to let people know, from what I see in the scriptures, until we black people as a whole reach out to the Creator of heaven and earth, who resides in the thick darkness, we're not going to get the prosperity that and the true liberation that we're seeking.
I hear you, but remember, that was one of the planks on which we suffered enslavement,
One of the what?
One of the planks on which we suffered enslavement through the same Christian principles and philosophies.
You get it that way?
Yeah, I remember.
Christianity is a complex thing,
Yeah,
but remember also that it was
Christianity was used to justify slavery.
Remember, your history will show you that in Britain, a lot of the agitation was by Christian groups.
True.
The Society for the Liberation.
True, but remember on the slave ships and even on the slave plantations, you had preachers out here, who turned the eye,
That's actually Christianity is a complex thing, and we Christians acknowledge that there are some people who are wolves in sheep clothing. Some people use Christianity for their own evil purposes.
Okay.
And there are some people who are the true children of God. So you can't say Christianity as a whole, what do you say now, supported slavery, right?
No, I never said supported slavery, but it was used to justify. That's what I was saying.
Did, and used the said Bible to justify it.
Yeah.
But the said Bible shows me a God who is just and fair, right? Some people find themselves in slavery because of their lassitude, the way they live loose and careless, right? They don't set up principles, structures, thrones, rulership, kingdoms, authority, no morals. If you live loose and just carry on like that, you'll weaken yourself, and stronger nations will dominate you, right? The children of Israel, when they went into that kind of slackness and loose living, that is how they became dominated by the Babylonians, and they were taken off into slavery. Right? When a people become loose, downgrade their own selves and so forth and so on, then they become weak. So Africa was, in fact, a glorious place with all other kingdoms, Egypt, Ethiopia, and so on and forth. But something must have happened. They must have fallen before they were penetrated by slavery.
No, and I want. There's
because
where hello. There's where me you're going part. No.
Mm-hmm.
Because why would you say something like that?
Can you be a people strong? A strong people together, loving, love of self, love of neighbor, caring for the young, caring for the old, respect for authority, all the true values of social and moral and upright living. All these are activated and displayed and ripe in a nation. And you'll be so easily penetrated by outsiders who come in.
No, but it's not. You make it sound that easy. But remember, African societies were feudal societies.
They were what?
Feudal societies, meaning that they had their system of governance. It was working for centuries. And when you welcome visitors to your shore. You welcome visitors to your shore with good intentions, but it's not all the while the visitors come with good intentions. Them come with a lot of things. They come with trickery.
We were deceived.
Yeah, that was a very fundamental part. Deception.
That was part of it.
A very fundamental part. I mean, you ever hear the saying? I mean, they came to Africa. The missionaries came to Africa. They told us to close our eyes, and when we opened our eyes, when we were praying, when we closed our eyes.
So you're laying it again at the feet of some of the missionaries.
No. You saying something, and no, I am saying something too. I'm saying that we African societies. You ever heard about the book "How Europe Underdeveloped Africa"?
Yes, I heard of it.
Okay, well, not even. Well, I like if I read it too.
Well, remember now, when you are enslaved, when a people come in and dominate you, rule you in your own land and take you where they want to take you.
No.
All kind of
coming into Africa was what? Hello,
you'll
miss.
Be raped, you'll be
hold on.
You'll be. Mm-hmm.
Coming into Africa to rule. Africa was a later day thing, What usually happens is trading with the same African people to get slaves. That was initially what happened when European countries began to rule Africa. Was the Berlin Conference. That was when Europe began to have a foothold in Africa. You ever hear about the Berlin Conference yet?
Yes, all of those things.
But that was when Europe put their foot in Africa. But before that, they usually extract from Africa. But they put their foot in Africa after the Berlin Conference. So we have to make sure we have that clear.
And that was after the whole slave trade at the Ivory Coast?
Yes, remember Berlin Conference was
the slave trade had been going on, right?
Yes, I'm telling you, the slave trade was extracting from Africa, but Europe got their foot in Africa through the Berlin Conference.
Yeah, because
they got their foothold in Africa.
Penetrated and weakened.
No, they got their foothold in Africa. They got their foothold in Africa through the Berlin Conference. But before that, they were extracting people out of Africa. The Berlin Conference were the European countries that met in Berlin in 1885 to carve out Africa. That's why I have that's why all of those countries and all of those states that. But you need to listen. You need to listen. But you need to listen.
The point.
No, but you need to listen.
The point I'm making is this. It's simple. You can take it at the familial, at the level of a community. You can take it at the level of a family. No penetration and can happen unless the family itself, the community itself, there's internal degradation and disintegration.
Yes, but I'm telling you also that it didn't start that way. It didn't start that way. It was after these things. Europe got their foothold in Africa, but before that, they were extracting out of Africa. That's what I'm trying to say.
On a fair level, on a fair basis, fair trade level, frontier trade.
Through slavery, through the minerals, through everything. But they got their foothold in Africa through the Berlin Conference, and the European countries carve out Africa themselves and say, Belgium, you get this.
Come into my yard and carve out nothing.
No, but it's not. Belgium is not in Africa. Belgium is in Europe. Belgium is in Germany. Hear me, Berlin is in Germany. And I'm saying that the Berlin Conference was when they met to carve up Africa, European countries. So that's why you have all of those countries named where you have the English, the French, the Spanish, the German, the Belgian people. That was when they got their foothold in Africa. But before that, they used to extract people out of Africa. And that's what I'm trying to say. I try to fight against anything where you're saying. I just tell you how things happened in a chronological order. Hello? She gone. Yeah, man.
Listen, people. I come a thing called it Jason McComb. Originate my dignitary, one of Jason. Balo balaba, yeah, balo balaba, yeah, just said we come, gone, just said we come, you have a word before the and I will leave for none, but no wicked man can enter judge a kingdom, me look up into things and me gain wisdom, dignitary stylish and they might come from the slum, sometime call me, I man of it done, still me, now go force me, now go pick up no gun, me now have no thinking, we go shoot me brother down car. Just said we come, Lord. Just said we come, but no box juice, no jive, bun, no cocaine, no raw opi.
Bless. Yes.
Good night, yeah.
Yeah, man. Run it.
My name is Buzzy Warrior, you see?
Yeah, man. You have to talk fast. Talk fast, yeah.
Oh, I call to you from St. Thomas, you see?
Yeah, man. Talk no, man.
Oh, when I say, see, I look up on a list of the brethren, I make a speech about education. And when I say about the education level in Jamaica, I say, when I say 80% of the people are illiterate, you see, and you see the other 20% were bright, them start take side with the slave master, you know, and use the other 80%. You know, see it. As Marcus Garvey said, a nation without them roots and them culture is like a tree without root. You understand?
Yeah.
I would say, you see, religion different from Christianity. You see?
Religion different from spirituality. Yeah.
Religion.
Mm.
Religion and politics form to divide black people. You see? And it's working down here. Because remember, so we are African, you know. And we there talk English. And nobody in the government, in the school, in the university, and all these places. None of them don't want to teach that Amharic talk in the school that black people can know their own language. We are talking a different man language. We are talking the slave master language. And the slave master give you this language to talk. That means that when we talk with him, then can understand.
We have our own language still, you know.
But no, but what I say now, I say the government people, politics and religion people, the 20% of the people were bright down in Jamaica, because I say 80% is done, you know. Mm. So I say the government people, in the university and all these places, police and the army and in the House of Parliament. None of them want to teach that Amharic talk down in Jamaica. Even Marcus Garvey.
So who is pushing for Amharic talk in Jamaica right now? Who is pushing? Is there a...
No, I'm not saying somebody should push or somebody pushing it. But what I'm saying, we are African.
Mm.
And down in Jamaica, remember say when the slave them come to Jamaica, then we scatter from Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana till we reach Jamaica, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And remember say Jamaica, Marcus Garvey is one of the greatest man come out of Jamaica, you know. And in him talk about education with black people, and them don't want Marcus Garvey to teach in a school. Well, because Marcus Garvey talk too much about black, and you know, like, only for black something them. So what I say, even though we down here and the whole of we black, and you have labor right, you have PNP, you have church, you understand? And you have the school them. All of these people right down here, if I never Rasta, everybody blind, you know. Because some people just eat for themselves and drink for themselves, and you know, business with the nation of people, you understand? You know, see, I remember say we did come here pack up in a slave ship.
Give thanks to Rastafari, man, because you know the enlightenment that is needed. If it was for Rasta, wouldn't be enlightened certain way. But give thanks though.
Right over there, eh?
We give thanks.
A long time I want to talk on the program, you know, so me buy a credit to talk on the program.
Yeah.
So the credit I really don't need to kill me, and if I cut me out before credit don't want me can go and talk some more.
Talk quick. Last thing.
Last thing. So I say give thanks to Rastafari, you see? And me want to ask the church people them a question, the people them where I say them know about God and Jesus. I want to ask them if they ever see the image of a bald Jesus yet. Yeah, see, because they fight against here, you know.
You ever see an image of any Jesus yet?
Eh?
Have you ever seen an image of any Jesus yet?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, me watch it away from the crucifixion where them show you up on the TV. I will read about it in the Bible.
Okay.
You know, see. But me I say now, when they show the Jesus, the white Jesus, he have a moustache and he have a precept and he have a white ear on his head. Now out here, if he's not a ballad and a God church, people criticize and underrate you and then discriminate the ones and still like just start grow like a ear on your head and on your face. They say you're Rasta. And they say Rasta fool. And then when we take it out, Rasta is the brightest set of people in Jamaica. You know, see it?
Yeah. All right. Give thanks.
I come a thing called a Jason me come. Originate my dignitary, one of Jason. Balo balaba, yeah. Balo balaba, yeah.
Crazy spa sale on at Kavita's Spa and Cosmetics. Get weight loss and detox deals, not for $10, but only $5,000. Even crazier, all first-time clients get a massive 50% off all facials, body scrubs, and massages. Visit us at Shop 16, Shops at Harbour Bay, Gloucester Avenue. Call 589-2427. At Kavita's, you deserve to be pampered.
Experience Jamaica from a different point of view at Oceans on the Ridge, Shaw Park, Oterias. Enjoy authentic Jamaican cuisine, live daytime music, relaxing surroundings, or our nightlife and romantic sunsets. Be at ease in the breeze at Oceans on the Ridge, 974-6290.
Big ships sailing on the ocean. We don't need no commotion.
Savings. It's a carnival of savings at Home and Things. Massive savings on new arrivals of Spanish and Brazilian tiles, mosaics, bathroom fixtures and faucets, windows, doors, and home decor that will make you say, oh gosh. From the tile down to drywall sheet, the Home and Things carnival of savings deals to wait. Home and Things preferred customers who know savings turn up loud. March down to Old Hope Road and Constant Spring Road. It's the Home and Things carnival of savings.
Pata peas and wheels. Everything seasoned, proper cook or steam. Peas and wheels. Pata deal the best deal. Pata fried dumpling and salvage. Fried breadfruit plantain and fried fish. Wild banana. Fetch you say I look in on me plate. You want to try it, but pata me just buy this. Pata. Yeah, stop the vehicle now. You know see a food.
See if you drive Lucy. Call us 474-8339. Heritage Pharmacy, West J's Midtown Mall, 124 Great George Street, Savannah, Lamar, has the lowest prices, also gives 5% discount on over-the-counter items, 10% on prescriptions, and 12% to senior citizens. We also carry a comprehensive range of makeup lines, such as Maybelline, Revlon, MAC, and Iman. Open every day except Saturdays. Telephone 955-2481. We're your health's best friend.
Cutting Edge on IRA FM. Bless.
Blessings, brother.
Yes.
Blessings, brother.
Yeah, man. Bless up, man. How you doing?
Yes, my brother.
Seeing. Respect.
Yeah, give thanks and praise, you know. Yeah, it's a powerful reason we are going tonight, you know.
Yeah, man. So
but I wonder if the woman there listen to the lecture what the man did I say first.
I don't know. I don't think so. But maybe. Why you say that? Why you say that? Why?
No, because at the same thing we're trying to defeat right now. Yeah, because at the same thing make we enslave right now. Remember say the same man when him SSG the slave ship when him SSG has been coming.
Yeah, it was one of the ships that must start care of our people, yeah? Yeah, but as I was saying, you know, I mean, and she also had a point, you know, that Christianity was used to justify, was a justification foundation for slavery. But she also does say Christian people in England did a fight for abolition too, which she have a point there, so what I try to say is that Christianity was one of the main sustenance of slavery, which is a fact. You know, is a fact. Christian the people who usually practice, the missionaries and the preachers and them something, they want the payroll of the state to do what them do. And that is why they have to turn a blind eye to many things, you know, over the years. Is a recent thing when they took them off the whole payroll of the state, you know. So Christianity do a world of bad for us as a people. We can't escape that. Because
black life for true self.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, you know, you got the people who get up and say, see them, I blaspheme on the radio and this and that and all sorts of things, you know. But if you check your facts and your history, it's not lying, me telling.
Because in my foreparents days, they won't know about this.
The same slave usually sing amazing. The same song we sing, we know as Amazing Grace, how sweet thou art, that save a wretch like me and them something. That was a main song that were sung on the slave ships by the people who practice. So it's not lie. It did it. The documents, facts that they for sure say is true. You know, when I say Christianity don't do good, you know, and what they did over time, and especially when they do for charity and over the years and whatever, but you can't escape that part. That cannot escape.
But you and me, I got to tell you, no, uncle. Before Roman name, they go running a Christian name. Right? Yeah, hear me?
Yeah, man, your dog about though.
So, remember said them deal with all of them things, you know. Modern Christianity and them things, you know. So, in with us, you know, in the 16th century, you know, them change and say Rome. Because all of them things we see what go on, you know. Them things were set up long time from those long days to go on.
All right. Check in, for instance, now. The Muslim extremists, them that are create havoc in the world now. The extremists, them, the Muslim extremists, them. It's the same thing the Christian extremists, them usually do in the 14th and 15th century, you know. The same type of killing, the same type of lynching, the same type. This is the same thing that it's just at the table stir now where one set of people make it look like, you know, this set of people is one of the most set of evil people ever come on the earth and them. But it's the same thing Christianity usually do in the 14th and 15th century. Extreme, especially the extremists them. When I talk about the conscious one, them know the extremists. It's the same thing that Christianity usually do. You couldn't talk about any other religion in the 15th, 16th, 17th century, or else you talk about blasphemy, hang, kill, all them kind of. But it's the same thing now that the Muslim extremists them I don't know nowadays.
Still, right now, still, right now, I don't tell you still, I Rasta in the car. Rasta make the whole universe know them choose self still.
Yeah, man. All right.
Yes, brother.
Bless. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, man, you're on.
We're on, Roger?
Yes, you're on.
Roger, just the last thing I want to say to you, you see?
Yes.
And it is the fact and it is the truth. Father God run everything from the earth, right?
Yeah. We perceive him to be still, you know.
And what him said is this, that he predicted, or his word predicted, that Ethiopia shall soon stretch forth her hand unto God. And it is, we're going to be truly liberated and get the prosperity we need, right, that we're desiring, when we stretch forth our hand, when we find the true God, come through the mess of so-called Christianity and find the true God, right? The creator of heaven and earth, creator of you and me, and stretch forth our hand and call out to him. When the children of Israel were leaving Egypt, the Bible said it was God himself who gave them favor so that the Egyptians could get reparation from the Egyptians for the years of slavery. It was God himself who gave them the favor so that the Egyptians could do it. Right? If we call out to God, he will give us the favor so that Britain will just have to turn out our pockets and give us reparation for the years of slavery of our people.
So you don't have a problem with the Muslim I call and dear God, though, and the Indian I call and dear God. And
as you were saying, you know, some so-called Christians in the past persecuted a whole lot of people and millions were killed. And we know that group. And they have said that they have confessed that they have done wrong and they have repented and changed their ways. Right? They did it in the past. Right? So that's why the Christianity is a complex thing. Right? Because, hello?
Yeah, man.
We're facing an adversary who wants to take God's place. So it is his purpose to confuse everything. Right? But people who really understand God will know the truth, and the truth will set them free.
All right, man. Give thanks.
Blessings.
All right. Lady determined, you know. Any more call? Bless.
Yes. Roger.
Yes.
Yes. Greetings, man. It's Mandingo.
Mandingo. Where, sir?
Yeah, this Thursday, the 14th of April, 2016.
Yes,
and
man.
I need a number for you, know.
Yeah, man.
So tell me how I can get that. What after the show or what?
When you're done, call about the operator and she'll give.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Yes, very interesting talk. You know, I was hearing the male and the female just before speaking.
Yes.
And it shows the tremendous miseducation that African people have
we not see
in terms of this Christian Bible and by extension this thing with the Arab Muslims, because both the Europeans use the Christian Bible, use Christianity as a vehicle for enslave and still enslave the miseducated minds of Africans.
Right.
Those Africans who are miseducated.
Yeah, man.
And the Arabs use Islam to do the same thing to Africans.
Yeah.
Take, for example, now that female who you said, very determined and so on. You notice she does what these Christians do, referring to the Creator as Father God. That means that there is no female involved, you know. The Creator could never be any he or no Father God business. Where is the mother? How can you have creation
without
the combination of the male and the female?
Right.
And we are made in the image and likeness of the Creator. The Creator, and I don't use the word God because that's a German word meaning superhuman being. You see, that they don't know. You see, that they use words because of indoctrination. And this Christianity, as you and I know, Raja, and others who are mentally free, came to us by the very same people who came to Africa, robbed, raped, enslaved, and are still doing the same.
Come to us under deception.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And irrespective of any so-called good that some Christians have done, you know them have the saying about the devil side scripture to suit themselves, is that Christianity was simply used as a tool and still is used as a tool to keep African people in mental, spiritual, economic, and political slavery.
The song Amazing Grace, you know. Remember the song Amazing
by an
Grace?
enslaver by the name of Newton.
Yes.
He was an enslaver who used to go to Africa in his ship and enslave African people.
And it's one of the most popular...
Of our people don't know.
It's one of the most popular Christian hymns right now.
Exactly. I want to tell you, more popular than Oh Great Thou Art.
Yes.
Yes. You know, Sanchez sang it over, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You know, and this is why there's a singer here originally from Jonestown by the name of Junior English. He has an album out, and him have a tune named Teach the Youth, you know, which is very, very important, Junior English, you know what I mean? But the thing about it is that all this thing that she was referring to about in Egypt and all the Egyptians enslaved, this is a total lie. There is absolutely no record in Egyptian, the proper name is Kimishan, history of any Moses and any flight from any so-called Egypt, Kimitan thing. Never existed. And they never built any pyramids. There's no record. And you know, Raja, as a scholar too, that the Egyptians documented everything in the temples, in the manuscripts, etc. Yes, exactly. And they document both the good and the bad that has happened. So this story about Moses leading children of Israelite out of thing is a lie. It never occurred. And for those of them who, because I know that they're listening, who have been shocked by what I'm saying, read the works of my friend, Dr. Professor Joseph Ben Buchanan. Read his works. It's a book about the African origins of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and it other works. No such thing. This Moses business, and with Israelites.
Well, you say a whole lot of people don't even know that Christianity, it was formed 300 years after Christ dead.
Precisely.
According to all the thing go, the constant nice, that's also when the whole leaders come together.
The Roman Emperor Constantine at Nicaea. Yes, and then and then people who did not agree. And Nicaea is in present day Turkey, you know. It wasn't called Turkey at the time.
Yes.
Because the Turks were not in control. It was part of what was later to become the eastern half of the Roman Empire. But at the time it was one, the western part and the eastern part connected, and the capital
at Istanbul that he called it Constantinople. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know. But this, and it shows you the ignorance. And ignorance is enslaving. Ignorance is that you have those Africans too who are Muslims who do the same fanatical thing. Up to yesterday I was reading where in Nigeria, Boko Haram, most of the suicide bombers that they use are little young girls, 7 and 8 years old, you know. Evil.
Yeah, man.
Serious
level of brainwashing, man.
8-year-old wicked.
Serious level of brainwashing.
To be killing Africans who don't agree with them. And the thing about both people who are Muslims and people who are Christians is that they both fight against African religions and African spirituality.
Yes, they call that paganism. Them find all the most derogatory names.
Says pagan and exactly, and I can bet this is what they vex about. For example, the Yoruba people in West Africa, mostly found in Nigeria and some in Benin and places like that. The name for the creator is Olorun, Olorun, or Olodumare, Olodumare. In the language of the Yoruba, in the language of the Igbo, which is in southeast Nigeria. And my grandmother had an Igbo name because I am part Igbo descent and also part Ashanti descent.
Yes.
The name of the creator is Chuku. Now, Raja and other Africans in Jamaica listening, you remember growing up, we have some of our man them in Jamaica. Them so-called nickname is Chuku. You remember?
Chuku. Yeah, man. That's true, man.
You check it. But most people do not know. The name Chuku is an Igbo African word meaning the creator.
See there?
But what happened is that we had to do it as so-called nickname. Because remember,
we get across
we were
the message,
forbidden to speak our languages, you know. On pain of death, we would be executed because they never want us to have our African languages, our Yoruba, our Igbo, and that type of thing.
Yeah, they want us to talk like them, but we also...
So that they could know what we thinking, because them don't want us to be able to plan to say, well, tonight we're going to rise up, you know, and kill these enslavers and that type of thing. So English was forced on us.
And I saw the patois come out now, because, you know, I mean...
Yes, the so-called patois, that I call it Jamaican, meaning the language of the African in Jamaica. You know, take, for example, you know, again, you have some people in Jamaica, you call them Dodo.
Yeah, and Dodo.
All right, you did have all a brethren named Dodo Blinds and Dodo Blacks. The word Dodo, D-U-D-U, is a Yoruba word from Nigeria, mean black.
See that?
Dodo mean black. All right, you know there's a next word too. You remember you have some man and some woman in Jamaica too, Africans. Them so-called nickname is Tutu.
Yeah, man.
All right. You did have a long time bad man politics thing, PMP in the 60s, named Tutu Keith, a West Kingston. And I have a virgin, you and I go to school, Friendship Government School, my father and mother's school in Spanish Town, St. John's Road, in the 60s, by the name of Samuel Williams. But his nickname was Tutu, T-U-T-U. But Tutu is a Ashanti name, because one of the founders of the Ashanti as a state, the king, was Ose Tutu. O-S-E-I-T-U-T-U. So, Nagozed, which you know Nagozed in St. Catherine, near Britain. Nagozed is a Yoruba word.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of words that we use as names for each other, names of places that are African, but our people have to hide it and say it's nickname and thing.
And I saw it farm, and I saw it get for farm the language over the years, over the decades, and farm the words
over the years
that make up a language now. You know?
Thank you, my brother. And take, for example, people who cuss us in Jamaica, you know them use as a term of abuse. Go where you come from, Moko.
Yes.
Now, Moko is an African name, place name. Muta in Clarendon is an African place name. And by the way, that's where Derek Morgan, the great singer and songwriter, is from, Muta. And Derek Morgan, proud to tell you that is Muta him come from.
Straight.
But you know, in Jamaica, because of the thing, go where Muta you come from. Like it's something bad.
Ignorance,
Muta is an African place. Exactly. And this is why it is important for us to study our African languages like Yoruba, Tree, which is the language of the Ashanti and Fanti and so.
Where most of the patois words come from.
Yeah, because most of our African people in Jamaica, you and I and others, because remember Jamaica is an African nation.
Exactly.
Most of our people came from West Africa. So this is why these words that I'm mentioning, and there are many more words that I can mention, but I mentioned those for sure, are Yoruba words, they are Ashanti words, they are Igbo words, etc.
And
this shows directly where we are coming from.
Yes.
Not Amharic. Amharic is way over the east in Ethiopia and that type of thing. And talking about Rasta, I heard the male caller saying, is Rasta make the world know themselves? But nonsense. African teachers, long before Rasta, have been teaching African people to know themselves. And the greatest of them all is none other than Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
Exactly.
The greatest African leader who founded the largest African organization in history. And people get this thing twisted about the psalmist saying Ethiopia shall stretch forth his hands to thing. What happens is that Ethiopia is simply another word for the entire continent of Africa.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Ethiopia is not the state. No, that's a recent name change that they used it for a particular state in Northeast Africa. The word Ethiopia simply means, it's a Greek word coming from Greek, meaning land of the burnt faces, meaning dark people, black people. That's all it means. And Africa is an indigenous term. Africa is an indigenous term. Sometimes people get it mixed up and say name after a Roman general named Scipio. That's a lie. Scipio is his Roman name, but because he defeated Hannibal near Tunisia, that's where ancient Carthage was. You know, there's a tradition in history that if you conquer and win a battle at a place, in your title afterwards, they give. So he was called Scipio Africanus after, because that part of Africa, that is where the original term Africa comes from. That's how that come about. So the word Africa is a native indigenous word, and it means a tropical place. And my reference on that is G.K. Ose, the man who taught Dr. Joseph Benyochanan and John Henry Clark. He was a Ashanti lawyer who used to live in London, and then he went to the States and died many years ago. But he's the one who taught John Henry Clark and Dr. Joseph Benyochanan about African history, you know, and things. So, Roger, we have to do this non-stop work.
We can't stop.
Because religion with Christianity and Islam has been used to mentally enslave our people and to tell our people that our African religions are pagan, savage, and no good. No matter how they pretend to be nice, the Muslims and the Christians, once you say to them that, listen, I am determined to practice my African religion, I'm determined to practice my African spirituality, you see how nasty and vicious they become. And it shows you that they are totally against African people.
And the earthfulest thing is that them come see you and do it.
Precisely.
Them come see you and do your thing for centuries.
For centuries.
Yeah.
And then impose a thing. Look on this now then, about Christian name. There's no such thing as a Christian name. It's a European name.
Concept,
and there's no such thing as a Muslim name. It's an Arab name. So they use religion to destroy your culture and to destroy your languages. And you know about the Father God. The Creator is both male and female. Straight.
So as Bob Marley said, the more tired to see your face, the more tired for you say the same thing over and over, until...
Yes, brother, we cannot stop, We cannot stop because they are not stopping.
They're not stopping.
With the miseducation, the mental enslavement. And the thing about it is that when you look in the school systems in Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean and in Africa, it's the same kind of brainwashing and indoctrination and mental slavery is still in the syllabus. Still being taught.
Yeah, and it come back to what I said even earlier, the whole capitalism and the democracy system that was imposed upon us. Anywhere you see that, anywhere you see where democracy, where black people is that them at the bottom of the pile, are they the most divided?
Always. And this is no accident.
Yeah. Deliberately. It was deliberately done.
But of course it's deliberately. Because we are not in our situation as African people. At home, in Mother Africa and abroad, wherever we are outside of Africa, because of accident. It is deliberate. And listen, these racist Europeans and racist Arabs have never stopped in trying to keep us down as African people.
Yes.
Never. And they always have traitors working for them, and also have some of our people who are miseducated, who do not know themselves to be used by them. Because what is most important, is that most Africans in the world have never read the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey.
True.
In Jamaica and outside of Jamaica. Most Africans in the world have never read The Destruction of Black Civilization by Dr. Tony Martin. That explains about Marcus Garvey's organization and that type of thing.
And we can extend that and say, we'll extend that and say
the Destruction of Black Civilization by Dr. Chancellor Williams, I mean. Right? And most Africans in the world have not read Race First by Dr. Tony Martin, explaining about Marcus Garvey's organization. And these are the books.
I'm going to extend it to Mandingo. I'm going to extend it and say most people don't read how Europe underdeveloped Africa by Walter Rodney.
Precisely. Whose birthday was in March, just like myself and King. No, because you see how Europe underdeveloped Africa by Walter Rodney is a companion to Destruction of Black Civilization by Dr. Chancellor Williams.
Yes.
But the thing with it is that while Walter deals with from the 15th century coming on, Dr. Chancellor Williams deals with from thousands of years ago to now.
Yes.
So Dr. Chancellor Williams deals with the whole thing and shows what the Arabs and the Muslims did. Walter Rodney concentrate on the economic pillage and thing. But what Dr. Chancellor Williams in the Destruction of Black Civilization does, he deals with the entire history of the race from thousands of years ago, politically, religiously, economically, and otherwise. He showed where the Hyksos as the first Asian invaders in Africa coming through Egypt called Kemet. Started, and then you had later on, the Romans, the Greeks, and the last set is the Arabs and that type of thing. The Turks were also there.
Yes.
And this word about Egypt, what a lot of people don't know, when you read in the Destruction of Black Civilization, the relevant page, the word Egypt is a mistake the ignorant, uneducated Greeks made. What happened is that one of the names of the creator is Ptah, P-T-A-H, in Kemet, Egypt, which is the original name, meaning land of the black people. And the other word, Ikupta, meaning mansion of the soul of Ptah. So what happened is that the uneducated and dunce Greeks heard our people using it, what it meant in Kemet, and thought it meant for the entire country of Kemet. And that is how them corrupt it to just Egypt. You understand? But the word is simply meaning the mansion of the soul of Peter, the creator. You see, but the name is for the country is Kemet, spelled K-I-M-I-T. Some spell it K-E-M-E-T. But that's the name. You see, and we must get away from this blind slavery, mental slavery about this Jesus Christ business. I mean, I and I, as Africans, existed thousands of years before this guy named Abraham. And Abraham is the father who later came on both Israelites and Jews. And even the word Israelite is offensive to me, Roger, because the word Israel is a title and a blasphemous title saying one who wrestles with the Creator and win. How can you wrestle with the Creator and win? Because them said Jacob wrestled with the Creator and he won. How can a mortal being wrestle with the Almighty Creator and win? That's a total lie. And that's how them get the title Jacob of Israel. Most people who say them are Israelites don't even know what the word means. If you ask them what Israel means, they can't tell you. All they know to do is repeat about Israel and Israelites. They don't know what it means. Israel literally means one who wrestled with the Almighty Creator, said Jacob, and won. How can Jacob or any human being wrestle with the Almighty Creator who created us? That in itself is blasphemous.
Yes, Mandingo. Oh, give thanks, though. Good reasoning. You know?
Yes, man, good reason and keep on the good work.
Yeah,
and it's nice Muta in Ivory Coast doing what he's doing because our work, finally, and I'm going to phone the operator. I'll phone the operator after to get the number.
Yeah, man, definitely.
But my final thing, African people in Jamaica and elsewhere, and big up to my brethren, Everard, Wildman Street, Cool Walks, and my brethren and sisters from St. John's Road, Spanish Town, all over, all 14 parishes of Jamaica, is that it, as Marcus Garvey said, it is not where you are as an African in the world that is important. It is what you do.
Exactly.
Because we have traitors in Africa, we have traitors in the Caribbean, we have traitors in the States, Canada,
and Europe, everywhere.
And we have soldiers and freedom fighters in the same places. So it is not where you are, because you can go to a place and you're still doing your dirty works. It is what you do that counts.
Yes,
because anywhere African is in the world is a part of Africa. That so, Roger, anywhere you go on the planet Earth, you are carrying part of Africa with
Definitely.
you. I likewise. Anywhere African is Africa that in motion. So, my brother, keep on doing the non-stop work, and I'll phone the operator right after.
Yes, Ingo, respect.
Every time, respect.
Bless.
Hello, what going on, Roger?
Tell me now.
A Christmas a year again, you know.
Yeah, man, you have a cut and go through, you know.
Yeah, you know, I'm on my birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
Yeah, man, I'm going to be 48, you know.
Happy birthday, man.
I'm born 68, I'm born 18, say 3 years, I come from me this year, right, you know.
All right, sir.
So me, I say, boy, me hear the people who kill Christmas, you know. Because when I read Psalm 68, it says, let your arise, let his enemy be scattered, as smoke away drivel, them away so wax melt before the wicked before the presence of God. So me, I say, he wax me in the candle. And if you ever see time of your God and see a woman get marked, I don't like when you see candle melt right down, you know.
All right, sir.
So Christmas is a man where now I go see a woman marked down like, I know say have the power to really make him look good in my heart.
Yes, sir.
So they shouldn't kill Christmas, man.
All right, sir.
I'm born in a tell the Rasta say people, I'm running what they are going to my uncle, funeral, my funeral, they wicked and coming from me.
Bless.
Yeah, I say half of us is in the black man side and half is in the white man side. Because the black man really have a flat nose. But some of us are brown and some of us, our nose are straight. So half of us are from the black and half of us are from the white. So it's hard for us to get into the African thing back straight. That may I say, you know.
All right, sir. Yeah, man, this for the cutting edge tonight, you know. Yeah, man. Roger Asphalt here holding the fort for Muta. He should be back next week, you know. So, you know, just filling in and doing my thing. And, you know, trying to portray the same message of African liberation because, you know, them I got tired for hearing we say the same things over and over and over again. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery because none but yourself shall free our minds. And that's the message of the cutting edge over the years, and it's remained the same. And, you know, I want to thank O'Brien and Tracy for, you know, being with us tonight. So that's it for the cutting edge tonight. Rolling out with some more King Basho coming up. Yeah. And up next is the man Matrix Popper.